Hi folks, so welcome to video number 2. Let's go over 5 signs that your data is actually not ready for artificial intelligence program. So before you start investing a lot of money, let's identify the symptoms which tell us that hey, we need to work on our data. And by the way, I've worked on over a dozen digital transformation programs where the goal was to build a single source of truth for the customer. The ultimate goal was always the same. Can the single source of truth of data be used by data scientists to do some machine learning on top of it and draw insights, build different type of models? Number two, can this provide cohesive common ground reporting for different departments and give a better visibility into the organization and eventually help provide the correlation between one data point coming from one department versus the second data point coming from another department and creating a correlation like that in the reporting. So let's go over those 5 symptoms which should tell you that your data is not ready. The number one thing to look for is, are the datas in the organization sitting in different silos? For example, marketing team has their marketing related data. So they have customer data, the campaigns they've been running, how successful these campaigns are. They collect all that data. They use products like Adobe. They could be using products from Google. They have metrics on email, on websites, and conversion data, and physical marketing which goes out. So they have all this data. Then you have the finance group, which obviously has details of customer contracts, the length of these customers, what kind of revenue is being generated, what is the forecasting of revenue, how much sales is happening, how many products are coming in and going. So similarly, different departments maintain their own data, but it's very common, even today in 2024, that these data are sitting in silos. They are owned by individual organizations, which are basically sub-departments within a company. And they, even in cases, I've worked with several large customers where the tools they use are different as well, right? So finance is using their own set of tools which are highly specialized, and they've been very comfortable using it for 15-20 years. On the marketing side, you will see they use their own set of products, so they have their own tools for collecting and storing all of this data and analyzing this data. So all these tools are sitting there, and none of these are integrated together. None of them really talk to each other. There's no single source of data which is available where if I want to get a complete cohesive view. So that's the number one thing. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 red flag is when the data itself, the quality is extremely poor. You start zooming into a department and then you suddenly you ask for a sample of their data, let's say the customer information. Let's say we're specifically talking to somebody who manages the CRM. So you start looking at the CRM data, you realize the information on a customer is either duplicated, missing, there are fields missing there are values missing there. I have seen this myself where, say, my name is Saurabh Mittal, my name is stored as Saurabh M. In some cases, it's just stored as Saurabh. In some cases, it's stored as SM. In one of the records, my phone number is there. In one of the other records, my very old phone number might be there. In some, my address may be missing, or maybe older address might be present in the database. So things like that, when they exist, that leads to extremely poor outcomes. Third red flag is not having historical data. Now, especially if you deal with very large organizations, most of my customers in the enterprise space, they have data which is available from several years. It goes back. They've been collecting data for last, say, 15-20 years. Even some companies, they've been collecting data even longer than that. So the number one factor there is, does your organization or your customer, do they have historical data available to them? What is the quality of that data? How frequently that has been collected? What is the richness of that data, quality of the data? So historical data is extremely important. AI obviously uses data to do a lot of extrapolation, and any type of forecasting, any type of assessment of the data will be more and more accurate the longer you can provide historical data to those models. So another factor or a red flag would be if you walk into a customer environment and you ask them, hey, how long you've been collecting this data, what type of historical data you have, and you get to know they don't have a lot of historical data. Number 4 is going to be about how often the data is collected and what is the frequency of that data pull. You want to make sure that there are mechanisms in place where the data can be pulled in real time, or there is a regular push of this data into the systems, because eventually, as you think in the future, you want to be having mechanisms where the data can be continuously pulled in and fed into downstream systems where the machine learning models can ingest that data and make assessments with that. If you lack that mechanism, what will happen is that kind of expectations you'll have of your machine learning models of real-time decision making, you won't really be able to do that, because you will be highly dependent on, say, monthly data pull or a quarterly data pull, which is not the ideal scenario for any machine learning AI program. And lastly, sign number 5 is if you don't have metadata, that's another red flag. Metadata is nothing but it's actually data about data. So where is this data coming from? Who owns the data? What is the sanctity of data? When was this updated? There are a lot of specialized tools basically which help put those right tags or collect that meta tag or metadata about data what you're working with. Another extremely important thing as you build your AI program, you have to have metadata about your data. If it's not there, probably another good area to start today before you really start investing heavily on the AI program. All right, so those are some of the symptoms I would suggest that everybody who's looking at building a data strategy, they should look at these 5 symptoms and see if any of these are present. It's better to invest some resources into fixing these. So I hope you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.